you and I are on a pilgrimage, a journey called life. Hopefully, at the end, it will be a goal called heaven. I want to give us 8 thoughts this morning that will help us map our way to that goal. This particular material is part of the work I did years ago in terms of faith development. And I call it life mapping. I believe that unless I have a goal, I won't know where I'm going or how to get there. Unless I know how to manage that goal, I won't get there anyway. And the first thing I'm going to suggest to us this morning is that in order to map our lives correctly, we need to focus on our strengths, not our weaknesses. We need to gain an insight that will heal us and keep us from the hurts that life throws our way. But unless we're able to focus on our strengths, that won't happen. The Apostle Paul said it this way: forgetting those things which are behind, I press toward those things which are before, toward the upward pull of God in Christ Jesus. I'm focusing on a strength here. Invariably in counseling, when we have a person in front of us and we ask him to write on a sheet of paper his faults, he will have a long list. If we ask him to write his good points, it will always be a shorter list than the faults are. People tend to focus on their weaknesses rather than their strengths. Now, the tools that we use to focus on our strengths are given to you there. What do I mean by a verbal tool? Well, last week, Brother Scott Kane showed us 1 Corinthians 3:18 and how we can fix the habits of our lives. That's the idea here. When you focus on Christ, according to that passage, you become like Him. So we need to focus on strength. Think about your verbal strengths. Where are they? Focus on them for a moment. Okay. Do you like meeting people? Is that a strength? When there's a lull in the conversation, do you take over? That's probably your strength. Do you enjoy talking on the phone? I do not. I have a weakness there, so I don't focus on it. When the phone rings, someone else can answer it. What do I care? All right, I don't focus on that. I'll tell you how to illustrate this. John Manning, are you ready? For the rest of the day, you are not allowed to think about an orange. Do not think about an orange for the rest of the day. Incidentally, what I'm talking about right here is what's wrong with the 12-step program. They tell you that you're that way all the rest of your life. You're always going to be whatever it is. Paul said it just the opposite. Look at 1 Corinthians 6:9-11. He said, you guys were this. You don't have to remain there. That's what the beauty of Christianity is. I start focusing on Christ. I'm focusing on the strongest being who ever was or is. I'm focusing on my strengths now. What about my verbal strengths? When was the last time someone said to you, what you told me really helped me? Verbal strengths, focus on it. What about your analytical strengths? Do you enjoy following directions? A lot of men have problems here for some reason, but do you enjoy it? I like things in right order. That's my analytical skill. I like that. I don't like things out of order. I don't like a mess. But if you saw my desk, you'd think it was just the opposite, but nevertheless, I like things that are ordered. That's a strength for me. I enjoy getting things organized. I make a list every day of my life that has to do with little things that I get done in the morning, and I feel like I've really accomplished something all day long. I'm looking at my strength. I enjoy lists for me. I don't like making them for others. My students would tell you I don't give them lists on tests because I don't enjoy making a list except for me. Well, that's one of my strengths, so I focus on it. We have sensing strengths listed on your overhead there. When I was very young, I had the ability to size up people. I think I still do. I have a sensing strength there. I also bond to my surroundings. How about you? How many of you fellas have named your pickup? No? Your car? Let's see, a gun you admired? Old Betsy? People who name things are bound to their surroundings. That's a strength, folks. Focus on it. What do you do when there's a gruesome story on television? You flip the channel? Or do you enjoy the gruesomeness? What's your sensing strength? Here's one. I enjoy helping others without getting the credit. That's a great strength for Christians. Focus on it. And last of all here, think about your directing strengths. What do I mean by that? Well, you know, this will never get done if I don't get in there and do it. Are you like that? That's a strength. Focus on it. Take an active role. It's all right. Just don't push other folks out of the way. I'm the kind of person that has to be challenged or I get bored. And so I know that, and so I focus on challenges. And then, when I'm communicating, I don't take forever to say what I'm about to say. I'm very brief in my communication skills, and so I focus on that. It doesn't bother me that I don't take a half an hour to say something that will only take a minute to say. I'm focusing on my strengths. That passage there in 2 Corinthians 4:17, you know it. While we look, not at the things which are seen, but the things which are unseen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are unseen are eternal in the heavens. For we know, I'm looking at something, I'm focusing on it. For we know that if this earthly house of this tabernacle, this body, were dissolved, we have a building with God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. And so I'm going to try to develop my strengths. Don't you remember that Paul said that when we were baptized into Christ, we became a new creation? Focus on it. 2 Corinthians 5:17. We are special now, unique, different, strong. What's my acceptance level of this thought? Focus on your strengths, folks. Second, recognize that in life there are always emotional freeze points. Seasons of hurt are coming. I need to understand that. I'm on my way to heaven, and so I'm ready for seasons of hurt. Joseph, how are you doing? I'm down in a hole. How did you get there? My brothers put me here. And then they went home and told my dad that I was dead. And then my boss's wife framed me and put me in prison. And a fellow in prison told me he was going to do something for me, and he didn't do it. How'd you end up, Joseph? I became prime minister of Egypt. Because God meant it for good, the folks meant it for evil. If you are a person who is held back by the hurts of life, here's a way to measure that. These are the markers that will tell you whether or not you're letting hurts hold you back from your goal. You've made pessimism a lifestyle. Are you the kind of person who has to know whose fault it is when there's an argument? You're pessimistic. Well, I just let it rip when I'm angry. Oh, really? Sure, I'm negative, but it's healthy to get things off your chest, isn't it? No, it isn't. I've made pessimism a lifestyle. I don't argue with anyone unless I know I'm right. I don't have to take this from anybody. I heard a Christian say that one time. I don't have to take this from everybody. And this is just some other time when someone has killed my dreams. Pessimism has become How many of you know what a pessimist is? Yeah, that's a fellow on his way home from Tunica. But Christians shouldn't be optimists either. I have invented a term for what we ought to be. I think that Christians should be peptimists. We've already done it through Christ, who keeps on strengthening us. Now, Brother Kane preached the whole sermon on this last week. I don't want to cover it again. But do I let fear keep me from doing what I know I ought to be doing? Am I just a little bit afraid? You see, this produces my putting off things. I want you to look at Jeremiah 29:11 with me and listen to God talk to Jeremiah. God said to Jeremiah, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, Jeremiah. I know exactly what I've got in mind for you, Jeremiah, saith the Lord. I thought of peace and not evil for you. Jeremiah, you're thinking the wrong way. I don't think that way about you. I think you can do it. But when I'm afraid to do it, I'm playing God. When in fact God said I could do it. Brothers and sisters, write this down. God never gives us anything to do that we cannot do. Ever. We need to be aware of flashpoints in our lives also. These are sudden things, unplanned things, sometimes unexplainable. They happen to individuals in a unique way. King David faced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybe. Flashpoints. Something came along unexpectedly. James wrote to folks who were kicked out of their homes and their homeland. They were scattered abroad. He said, count it all joy when you fall into these kinds of temptations, trials, knowing this, that the trying of your faith works steadfastness. But let that steadfastness, translated patience in the King James, have her perfecting work, that you may be complete and entire, wanting nothing. I need to learn how to use these to make me stronger. This is a part of my life map, that when the flashpoint comes, it's a challenge, not a defeat. We had a sister here on her way to services killed by a fallen tree limb. That was not planned. It wasn't explainable. It was sudden. Whom do we blame? A lot of folks blame God, don't they? Well, they happen to all of us. So on your life map, make sure you have room for flashpoints. They're coming. They're coming. As sure as a blowout on a tire, a flashpoint is coming. And then we have something in life that are called untied transitions. I liken this to what happened to the fishermen who became apostles. There's no connection there for fishermen to become apostles. But there are 4 major areas where these untied transitions take place. Your children are going to grow up and leave home. That's going to be a change for you. You're going to go through physical changes. In my lifetime now, I have gone through 12 complete changes of my cells. Every cell in your body changes every 7 years. It becomes brand new. So if you're 7 years old, you've already had 1 resurrection. I've had 12. Now you know, well, I'm on the 13th one. Now you know I am so old. Well, I won't go into that. But I've changed, and that happens to us. Physically, we change. I tell you what, my Social Security number begins with 1, so you know how many changes I've been through. All right, that's going to happen. Some folks change jobs. Be prepared for that. But here's a big one. You're going to go up and down spiritually. You won't always be as high today or tomorrow or the next day or maybe a week from now. Be prepared for that, because emotions get in our way and challenges come. Things happen. I was in an intensive care unit visiting a brother one day, and I was watching the oscilloscope, his heartbeat, and it was doing this. How many of you know what this is? What is that? Death. This is life. Be ready for it. We just sang about being ready for it. If it's a rainbow, and not the kind of rainbow out here in the United States, be ready for those spiritual changes. I want to add this thought for you. In life, there are 3 challenges always. Something ends. My children aren't at home anymore. Conversation with my spouse doesn't take place anymore. Something ends. And we question it. All kinds of questions come. And young people, they're going to come to you too. when things change. But we need to have the strength to accept the change. It's coming. It won't always be the same. A brother here told me one day that when he retired, he planned to buy a little farm and raise a few cows and just enjoy life, and he died before he retired. Do we have the strength? Well, where does it come from? Look at Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who keeps on strengthening me. One of the things that I need to work on always is my public life equivalent to my private life and vice versa. Privately, am I the same person I am in public, or am I an image manager? This is dangerous. It can lead to tension. It can lead to a breakdown. I got a call one day from a church in Oklahoma about a young man that I knew who had stood in the pulpit that particular Sunday and told the audience, I am Jesus. He had what they used to call a nervous breakdown. He was eventually institutionalized. I am happy to report to you that he's okay now. He's working for the post office and doing fine. But on that particular occasion, he broke down. What happened? He was preaching things he did not believe were true. And that's dangerous because he was trying to project a public image from an inward tension that really wasn't true. And so whom was he hurting? Himself. There are 5 marks of image managers, and they're not good. But I'll give you a background, Revelation 2, 1 through 3. The church at Ephesus was managing its image quite well, but inwardly it had lost something, its first love, Revelation 2:4. Most image managers are great at starting something, but they're not good at finishing. Oh, they've got all kinds of great plans, but they never finish. Number 2, they want to be popular. That's dangerous. You can't always be popular with folks when you have to stand for the truth. And number 3, the made-up image becomes more real to them than the reality itself. They begin to believe their own image. I think this happens to public figures more than anyone else. I'm reminded of Saul when I say that, who actually stood before Samuel and told him, I did exactly what God told me to do. And Samuel said, then how come I can hear the cattle? You were supposed to kill them. His image was more real than the reality. He said, I did obey. Here's another problem for an image manager. He's always sorry when he gets caught, but he never is penitent. There's a difference. And not only that, Brother Kane showed us this one last week. You cannot counsel this fellow. He's not easy to be entreated. He will not listen to counsel. The antidote to image managing is 1 Peter 5:5. To be humble enough to look at others and their needs, and continually to be a learner, a constant disciple of God. That's the antidote. When you're making a life plan, folks, I should have put that up there for you. Sorry about that. When you're making a life plan, you have to be credible with what you're doing. You're going to have to be honest with yourself. 2 Corinthians 13:5. You're going to have to examine yourself. Why do you call him Lord, Lord, and do not the things which he told you? Luke 6:46. When you're making a life map, you have to be credible. You have to be confident in something. The Lord shall be thy confidence. Keep thy foot from being taken. Proverbs 3:26. And you need to communicate your goal to others. If you want to be credible, and if you want to be confident in what you're doing, let others know you're doing it. Then you become accountable to them. Let the Lord know what you want to do. You have to have an accountability base. You have to let people know, here's what I want and here's how I'm going to do it. Why won't that come back to me? Here it is. Number 7, quickly. We have to learn to be hopeful. What did you say, Keith? You have to learn it. I only have 2 choices when my plans go wrong or they seem to disintegrate. I can quit or I can confidently face the future. What do? I can go ahead or I can say, oh, woe is me. But we're saved by hope, folks. The Christian who feels helpless has lost something tremendously valuable because we're never hopeless, ever. For 17 years, Dorothy and I were part of a group that was supporting terminally ill patients. And I believe that we met people at some of the finest days of their lives when they knew what they were facing, but they also faced it with hope. What a great, great time that was for us to talk to these people and to listen to them. One of the great ladies we met was Maxine Hill, who had pancreatic cancer. And I asked her one day if she had ever asked God, why me? I'll never forget her answer. She said, Keith, why not me? I'm not that special. Isn't that interesting? She hadn't lost hope. She knew she was human and things were going to happen to her. So it wasn't why me, it was who's my Lord and where am I going? We're saved by hope, but hope that is seen. So I have is not hope. Either confidently to face the future, or I can just sit around feeling helpless. And finally, this morning, everybody needs a memorial marker. When they crossed the Jordan River, they were told by God for each tribe to carry a stone and pile it there, to make a marker in a sort of piled up group of stones to remind them of what God had done in holding back the Jordan so they could cross on dry ground. To me, that's one of the most marvelous, most fascinating miracles in all the Old Testament, to stop a river right there. And each time that their children were to see this pile of stones, they were supposed to be able to tell the children, that's the memorial of when we crossed. Somewhere in your life, somewhere in my life, there's a memorial marker. Somewhere along the line I got through something I thought I'd never get through. And when I got through it, that should have taught me whatever comes next I can get through. The Hebrews writer put it this way, call to remembrance the former days. You got through yesterday, you can get through today. I tell the students all the time, you got through my last test, John, you can get through this one. Surely, we've won so many battles, why quit now? We got through it. There's somewhere along the line a memorial marker. Well, I won that moment. What do you mean by these stones, Dad? That's when we crossed the Jordan, when we passed before the ark of the covenant of the Lord over Jordan. Well, you pass through a river sometime. You can do it again. You know what my life goal is? One more step for God. Just one more. The hypocrite is well defined as goalless. He does not know how to focus on his strengths, face his flashpoints and seasons of hurt. He doesn't realize that life changes. He needs to be ready for it. He has no idea how to feel hopeful. He lies to himself. For 60 years now, I've offered an invitation to groups. I know there are folks who need to come, but they haven't focused. They have an image of themselves that's probably not reality. Because the hardest person to face is self. And so as we offer these invitations, I wonder, has anyone told them that they have to set this goal themselves? And they have to take charge themselves? And that they can do it? When we tell you that you need to know that Jesus died, was buried, and rose again the third day, that's not a ritual. You need to know that. Do you believe it? If you really believe it, it should mean something to you. If it doesn't, if it's just words, something's happened to you already spiritually that's not good. And we have witnesses to the fact that he was buried and rose again the third day. Hundreds of them. It's a fact. Do you believe it? If you do, you need to make a decision. Now, we use this word repentance a lot and forget to tell people how to do it. You make a decision right up here. I'm going to do what God told me to do. He loves me, and if I don't do it, it will hurt him. And godly sorrow works this repentance, so I'm going to make a decision. And you know what he tells you to do? It's very simple. He says, stand up in front of this group and tell them you believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. Because with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Romans 10, 9 and 10. And then allow someone to immerse you in water. Why? Because he said so. And it's at that point when you begin your life map toward heaven. You come up out of that water free from all your past sins. You know, that means as much to those of us who've already done it, or at least it should. Because we know where we started and we know where we're going, don't we? And now we have some tips on how to get there. And your greatest strength this morning, brothers and sisters and friends, is Jesus Christ. And I recommend his way to you highly while we stand, while we sing.